Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring one of the absolute greatest modern mysteries of our solar system. We're going to look at a massive scientific investigation that spans decades, one that brings together paleontology, orbital mechanics, and infrared astronomy. Really, it's a search for ghosts. We're hunting for hypothetical worlds lurking in the pitch-black outer limits of our solar neighborhood that scientists genuinely suspected were influencing the fate of life right here on Earth. Okay, let's dive right into this because this isn't just your standard astronomy lesson. No, this is a grand cosmic whodunit. For decades, highly respected scientists have looked at the data and seriously asked, does the sun have a hidden, deadly companion? Like, is there a massive, unseen body out there in the deep freeze of space that's literally responsible for catastrophic events in our planet's history? To understand how scientists even began to ask this wild question, we first need to visit the scene of the alleged crimes. And that scene? That is the Oort Cloud. You can think of the Oort Cloud as the dark edges of a vast, freezing backyard that entirely surrounds our solar system. It's this still largely unknown spherical reservoir, and it contains billions, maybe even trillions of icy cometary bodies. And it is incredibly far away. Its outer edge extends up to 50,000 astronomical units from the sun. Just to put that into perspective, at that scale, we're talking about distances stretching over 3 light years out into the interstellar void. It's way out here, in this freezing backyard, that our suspects were thought to be hiding. Now, what's really interesting here is the eerie pattern revealed in Earth's own geological record. When paleontologists started mapping out mass extinctions, events like the Permian-Triassic extinction 250 million years ago, the Triassic-Jurassic event 208 million years ago, and of course, the big one 65 million years ago that wiped out the dinosaurs, they noticed something that really alarmed them. These massive die-offs seem to happen on a cycle, roughly every 26 million years. Such a regular, devastating heartbeat of extinction completely demanded an explanation. I mean, what could possibly trigger global catastrophes on such a precise, millions of years long schedule? Well, that brings us to our second major clue, discovered by astrophysicists who were looking up rather than digging down. If you look at long-period comets, these are the icy wanderers that take thousands of years to complete just one orbit, they actually do not enter the inner solar system from random directions. Instead, researchers saw that a huge, disproportionate number of these comets cluster in a very specific inclined band in the night sky. The implication was huge. Something massive is actively nudging them out of their cold outer reservoir and sending them falling directly toward the sun. Which brings us to suspect number 1, Nemesis, also known as the Death Star hypothesis. To explain that 26 million year extinction cycle, scientists back in 1984 introduced Nemesis, named after the Greek goddess of vengeance. And the theoretical physics of this so-called Death Star are absolutely fascinating. To perfectly match that extinction cycle, Kepler's third law of planetary motion dictates that this unseen companion must be incredibly far away, orbiting at a vast semi-major axis of roughly 95,000 astronomical units, or about 1.5 light years. Because it had never been seen, it was theorized to be a dim red dwarf, or maybe a brown dwarf, which is essentially a stellar object too low in mass to sustain nuclear fusion. Traveling on a highly elliptical orbit, it would spend most of its time drifting harmlessly in deep space before swinging dangerously close. And this next number brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the danger. At its closest approach, or its perihelion, Nemesis was calculated to plunge to 30,000 astronomical units from the sun. That specific distance places it directly inside the outer Oort Cloud. So as this incredibly massive object plows through that dense reservoir of icy bodies, its gravitational pull would severely disrupt their orbits. It would literally send a lethal shower of comets raining down into the inner solar system, right into Earth's path. But as the investigation continued, we got suspect number 2, Tyche, often called the Good Sister. So as time went on, another theory started to emerge. In 1999, astrophysicists proposed Tyche, named after the goddess of fortune, as a slightly less destructive alternative. Instead of a small companion star triggering apocalyptic comet storms every few million years, Tyche was theorized to be a massive planet. We're talking a gas giant up to 4 times the mass of Jupiter, located roughly 15,000 astronomical units away. The idea here was that Tyche's gravitational pull was just strong enough to gently push and shepherd comets into that specific inclined band we observe, but without acting as an engine of absolute doom that causes mass extinctions. But even as a planet, Tyche's orbit is completely mind-boggling to comprehend. Sitting at 15,000 times the distance from the Earth to the Sun, it would take Tyche nearly 1.8 million years to complete a single lap around our star. It was a bold idea for sure, but it was heavily grounded in really sound celestial mechanics. So let's step back and look at how this builds by placing these two primary suspects side by side. On one hand, we have Nemesis, a dim star orbiting at 95,000 AU, acting like a cosmic wrecking ball that plunges through the Oort Cloud to trigger deadly mass extinctions every 26 million years. And on the other hand, we have Tyche, a massive gas giant planet sitting much closer at 15,000 AU, gently nudging comets without all the doom and gloom. Both of these theories beautifully explain the anomalies scientists were seeing. But the million-dollar question remained, were they actually out there? Let's move on to Section 3, the investigation, and why we had to start hunting in the infrared. So, to find out if these bodies were actually real, astronomers had to launch a massive investigation. Now, you might be wondering, why couldn't we just point a telescope out there and look for them? Well, the crucial point is that we can't use standard optical telescopes for this. These theoretical bodies reside so unbelievably far beyond the reach of the sun's illumination that they reflect absolutely negligible optical light. They are literally visually pitch black against the pitch black backdrop of space. To catch them, astronomers realized they needed the cosmic equivalent of thermal goggles. You see, even a dim brown dwarf or a massive gas giant like Tyche would retain a faint amount of residual internal heat from its formation billions of years ago. To find them, we had to hunt for that specific heat in the infrared spectrum. Enter NASA's Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, or the WISE Space Telescope, which launched in 2009. The methodology they used here is an absolute masterclass in cosmic detective work. Step 1. WISE meticulously scanned the entire sky across multiple infrared wavelengths. Step 2. It mapped millions of extremely faint thermal sources, searching for anything glowing with that telltale residual heat of about 150 to 200 Kelvin. And finally, Step 3. By comparing images taken months apart, automated algorithms tracked the parallax motion of these heat sources against the dense background of distant stars. Think about it. If Nemesis or Tyche were close by, they would appear to shift position much faster than the stars way in the background. Which finally leads us to the verdict, the highly anticipated 2014 WISE data release. After years of data collection, the definitive verdict was finally delivered. The cosmic ghosts had to face hard empirical data, and honestly, the data was completely ruthless. The survey systematically eliminated the hiding places for these theoretical giants. Let's tick them off one by one. WISE confirmed that absolutely no Saturn-sized object exists out to 10,000 astronomical units. It confirmed no Jupiter-sized object exists out to 26,000 AU. And it further confirmed that no Jupiter-sized object, let alone a massive brown dwarf, exists out to a staggering 82,000 AU. A 4-Jupiter mass planet like Tyche, sitting at 15,000 AU, would have shown up as a bright, highly mobile thermal source. It simply wasn't there. To put the final nail in the coffin, scientist Kevin Luhman, who actually analyzed the WISE data, stated it very plainly. He said, "The outer solar system likely doesn't contain a large gas giant or a small companion star." With that simple, definitive scientific consensus, the case on our two main suspects, Nemesis and Tyche, was officially closed. The sun, it turns out, is flying solo. But here is the sheer beauty of science. Even when a hypothesis is proven wrong, the investigation almost always yields amazing new truths. While the sun lacks a bound partner, the WISE survey discovered thousands of real, previously overlooked cool stars and brown dwarfs right in our local interstellar neighborhood. We've learned that, while we don't have a Death Star partner, our cosmic backyard is completely full of temporary, close-passing visitors. For instance, researchers identified a red dwarf known as Schultz's star. And get this, it actually did graze the edge of our Oort Cloud just 70,000 years ago. Literally, human ancestors were walking the Earth when this happened. It likely stirred up comets that won't even reach our inner solar system for another million years. So what does this all mean, and where does that leave us today? Well, the giant companion models have been firmly ruled out, but those gravitational anomalies haven't completely disappeared. Actually, right around 2014, when WISE ruled out Tyche, astronomers noticed a strange new clustering anomaly in the orbits of extreme trans-Neptunian objects. These are icy bodies far beyond Pluto, like Sedna. They all seem to align in a way that heavily suggests they are being shepherded by a smaller, planetary mass body that we still haven't managed to see. Which leaves us with a totally thrilling question. With these gravitational fingerprints still lingering out there, what undiscovered worlds are still hiding in the dark? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Until next time, keep looking up.